Hey guys, I'm Coral. Welcome back to my channel. This is just going to be a really quick little wrap up for the movies that I've watched starting the 1st until the 5th because I'm doing my 2nd annual October movie marathon where I watch one horror movie a night for the whole month. It's been a really great start. I've liked every movie I've picked so far. So, I guess let's get into it. So I started the month off with the movie 13 Ghosts. This was released in 2001 and it was directed by Steve Beck. Some of the more well-known cast members would be Tony Shalhoub, Matthew Lillard. And this is a movie about a family. It is the father, a probably young adult. She looks like she might be like 20-year-old daughter, and then a younger son who is maybe like 8. The kid's mother has recently died in like the past few years, so they're kind of still grieving. They're really hard up, can't pay the bills really, have a bunch of funeral and hospital expenses to pay, so it's really kind of a blessing when a lawyer shows up telling them that the father's Uncle Cyrus has recently died and left his vast fortune to them, including this fucking crazy house. But the thing is that Uncle Cyrus hunted spirits and, I don't know, is hunted the right word? It's more like he captured them and kept them as trophies in the basement of his house. And this house is like all glass and it has these spells written on all the glass to like keep the ghosts locked up. And as the family finds out, like maybe Uncle Cyrus didn't actually have the best of intentions when leaving this house to his nephew and his nephew's children. So there is some really cool parts to this movie. This was a rewatch for me. I used to watch, I mean, I've seen this probably a dozen times, but it's been a while since the last time I watched it, probably like 10 years. So like there are these spirits in this house and they all fit into this like, I think they called it the Black Zodiac. I don't know, dark zodiac maybe. So there's like the jackal, there's the, I don't know, the pilgrimess, there's like the, I don't know, they have all these names, like the tortured princess or something like that, and the withered lover, and he's captured people's spirits to fit these zodiac things, and he's kept them all in the basement, and he's like looking for the last zodiac thing to like complete this weird ritual thing. You get to see like all the ghosts that he's captured, all the spirits, and that part is so cool. The makeup is so well done. It's very creepy and weird, and that's the best part of this movie, I think. Where this movie goes wrong is that you just don't really care so much about the characters. I think Matthew Lillard's character is really good in this, but everyone else is just kind of meh. And you just don't really get into the backstories of these spirits or like the zodiacs that they're supposed to be representing. And that's something that I never really thought about when I was younger, but watching it now, it's like, man, I just could have had way more of that. And I think the film really would have benefited from that. It's still good, still worth a watch, I think. If I rated it now, I'd probably give it a 3.5 to 4 stars, maybe 3.75 stars if we want to get really technical and weird about it. But yeah, it's really good, but it could have been way more gooder. You know what I mean? So that's what I watched on the 1st. Okay. The second movie I watched this month was Sleepaway Camp. This was released in 1983. directed by Robert Hiltzik. And the leading lady here is Felissa Rose. And she plays a young girl named Angela who goes to camp, summer camp, for the first time with her cousin Ricky. They are, I think, like 12 or 13 years old. And it's kind of a slasher flick. Angela's kind of like quiet and weird. She doesn't really talk to people. But she seems nice. And she kind of gets picked on for being, you know, the outsider. The people who pick on Angela end up getting killed. I have to say, the special effects were so bad they were good. Like, I think all around this movie was one of those, like, it's so bad I fucking love it kind of a thing. And I don't mean like so bad like it's the worst movie I've ever seen. I just mean like campy, probably fairly low budget. The acting was still okay, like not great, but okay. There was a police officer with a very fake mustache, which is so much fun. So yeah, like I said, the people who are picking on Angela meet untimely deaths, and yeah, I mean that's really all there is to the plot without giving too much away. But I have to say, it was like, when I was watching it, it was like, huh, I like this. I can't believe I haven't seen this before. And then like the last 4 minutes of the movie, I was like floored. It like blew my butt off. I was like, oh my fucking god, I cannot believe I've not ever seen this before. I really have not even heard of people talking about it, really. And how? It was so bizarre, and it was like one of those things where you're watching it and you're like, something is super not right, and it's like uncomfortable, and I don't know. It was magnificent. I gave it 4.5 stars. This is one that I'm going to watch a lot. So that's what I watched on the 2nd. On the 3rd, I ended up watching Jawad, which is the original version of the American The Grudge. This was directed in 2002 by Takashi Shimizu, and if you've never seen this, this was a rewatch for me. If you've never seen the American version, it pretty closely follows the original Japanese version. And it's about this, she's like a caretaker basically. She goes to the homes of elderly people to make sure that they're being cared for, to help them around the house, help them with their hygiene, stuff like that. And she goes to the house of an elderly woman, and some crazy stuff starts happening. She finds out that the rest of the woman's family has vanished, and that the house is haunted. So they're kind of trying to uncover like what happened to their family, why the house is haunted. There's this mysterious little boy who keeps showing up, and yeah, I mean, I think most people have seen at least The Grudge, if not also Ju-on. And I have to say, this is, I think, the 3rd time I've seen it, and it doesn't hold up super well. There are some parts where they've used special effects that just like aren't effective anymore, you know what I mean? I really think that the acting of the woman who plays like, what was her name in this? Okay, well, it's taking me too long to figure that out. But the woman who played like the Grudge, the like, you know, part of that, she just like works her body so well and makes it super unnatural and freaky, and that part was still very good. So I ended up giving this 3.5 stars. It's worth watching, but I can't say that it's one that I think I'm going to continue watching over and over, just because I know the story, it doesn't really scare me anymore, and it hasn't aged super well. So that's what I watched on the 3rd. The next movie I watched was called Threads. And it was released in 1984, and it was directed by Mick Jackson. And man, this movie was fucking rough. I didn't know anything going into it. Somebody recommended that I watch it, and when I like looked it up on my TV, you know, to see if it's on a streaming service, like to decide like whether or not I even wanted to watch it this month, it said it was available on Shudder, so I just assumed like, oh, it's a scary movie. And it is a scary movie, but not quite in the way that most of us would, you know, think of scary movies. This is more like scary as in like it's absolutely horrifying because it depicts something that could very plausibly happen to us, especially with the way the things in our world are going right now. Threads is about a small town, a small city in Britain that the US decides to bomb with a nuclear bomb. And it goes through like all the stages of that. It's like, you know, the government trying to tell people how to create fallout shelters, how to and what to stock in those fallout shelters, like what to do if you can't really make a fallout shelter in your home. Like what if you live in an apartment building? Like what should I do if I have an elderly parent living with me? What do I do if I'm caught outside when this detonation happens? Then like what do I do? Like what are the stages even of like the bombing? Because it's not just they drop a bomb, it explodes everywhere. There's like that part of it, and then also the, I don't know. It's like, oh my god, it's just so much. Like I don't know. I was talking to Zach about it before I filmed this, and like it was so depressing. It goes through, you know, the bombing, it goes through the like right away afterwards what happens in like the first 2 weeks, like day by day basically, what would happen, you know, 6 months from then, what would happen a year, what would happen 2 years, what would happen 10 years, what would happen 20 years afterwards. And it is disturbing and horrific, and I think it's something that everyone should probably watch. And it kind of makes me feel sick thinking about it. You know, like not just a bomb with like an explosion, but a bomb with radiation and like what radiation poisoning does to your body. It's super fucking scary. And man, and like I watched that miniseries Chernobyl that HBO came out with a couple months ago, and that was made this year, and I think still watching that 1984 film Threads is like way more traumatizing than watching something, you know, made today about almost the same thing. Whew, it is rough. It's rough. But I think it might be an important thing for everyone to watch, so I don't know. It made me feel worse, I think, than Grave of the Fireflies did, and that is also a gut-wrenching movie about, you know, that kind of stuff. So that's what I watched on the 4th. Watched Haunt, which was released in 2019. It was directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods, and this was one of those, I feel like this is kind of a popular thing in the last couple years, but it's like one of those movies where a group of people go into a haunted house, but they find out that maybe it's a little more extreme than they expected, and maybe it's not just pretend, like maybe people are being killed inside this haunt. And I was pleasantly surprised about this. It was better than I expected. Yeah, there was lots of good gore. There were these characters with like body modifications and like tattooed faces that looked super great. The effects were really good. I don't know. I think they took something that is, you know, a little commonplace recently, a little trendy recently, and really made it good. And yeah, the ending was good. It like came to a point where I was like, oh no, if this is gonna be the end, I'm gonna be upset. And then it wasn't. And I was like, yes, you did it pretty good. So all in all, I would give this one 4 stars. I would recommend it if you like those movies like Hell House LLC or The House is October Built. A little more slashery than like haunted spooky, but really well done, I think. So that's what I watched in the first week of October, and I will be back next Sunday with what I watched. What would that be? The 6th through the 11th? Let me look at my list and tell you what I plan on doing. Oh, I guess I should also say, if you wanted to watch any of these, I had to rent 13 Ghosts. Sleepaway Camp is on Amazon Prime and maybe Shudder too, I can't remember. Jawad was also on Amazon Prime. Threads is on Shudder, and then Haunt I had to rent. So for the 5th through the 11th, if you want to watch any of the movies I'm going to be watching that week, I have planned Chopping Mall, which is on Shudder, Marrowbone, which is on Hulu. I plan on rewatching Hell House LLC, which is on Amazon Prime. I'm either going to watch American Satan, which I would have to rent, or Lords of Chaos, which is on Hulu. And those are both kind of, maybe not exactly horror, but about darker things concerning music, which I like. I plan on watching Baskin, which is on Hulu. And also, I plan on renting the Banshee chapter, which will be a rewatch for me, I think. So that's what I plan on watching for this next week, if you guys want to watch any of those, and where you can find them, I guess. But until then, I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!